So you start off the message talking about the story that got you back to victory. I don't think I've ever heard you share that before. So
Yeah.
what city were you living in?
Yeah, I was in Birmingham.
Birmingham,
Yeah,
Alabama. So not too
Alabama.
far away.
Wasn't too far.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you set it up and said that the Lord basically had called you back to Atlanta specifically to come back to victory.
Yeah.
I love hearing those stories because often in ministry we hear people trying to figure out what God's telling them to do, right?
Yeah.
So talk us through, like, what was that process? Was that like, did you hear him say that? Was it a constant thing over the course of a couple of weeks? Like, what was that process like?
Man, it was a months long process of me. I mean, there was so much that went with that decision.
Wow.
Because there was the leaving of the city
Okay.
and the leaving of the job and the coming back to this city and coming back to this church.
Wow.
And all of those were kind of one decision and separate decisions at the same time.
Wow.
But the fuel behind me leaving that job, like I said, it was clear, like the way that I was being trained
Yeah.
over time. I remember talking to my dad about it and telling him, like, it feels like this just doesn't go together. Like
Wow.
the way that who I was becoming.
Wow.
And the things that I was wrestling with in terms of how to go about my life, how to go about business, it was in conflict
Wow.
with who I knew Jesus wanted me to be. And so leaving there, and then this gave me a safe place to land.
Okay.
Even though it wasn't me coming to a job,
Yeah.
it was like I'm coming to a place where it felt like coming home. It felt like
Wow.
coming to a safe place. It felt like somewhere that I would be able to like land and figure it out. I knew God was here, you know, which is more than I could say for where I was. And it's like, all right, you know, I'm 26
Wow.
and I'm like, all right, I thought I was going to do this with my life. I've always felt this drive, like I'm going to be doing something significant. I've been training, learning. Okay, if this isn't it, I know God still has something for me. And I know that if I follow him, like at this point, I at least knew, all right, if I follow him, he will lead me into something better.
Wow.
Now, the better in my mind at the time was like, I'll probably go up there and get a better paying situation.
Glory to glory.
Glory to glory. I'll open another business and it'll just boom.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm going to go back to Atlanta. I'm going to go back to victory. And then everything's going to take off. And I thought that it was going to be all up and to the right. And that's not what happened. I came back. I came to victory. And I moved in with my parents, which I thought was happening very temporarily. Like just until I find a spot and everything. And then I was still there for a while, trying to figure stuff out. And in the midst of that, I actually came to a young adult service like the month that I had came back. And I was like, all right, God, I remember closing worship. I'm just in there like, all right, Lord, I know that you see things from such a higher perspective. I know you have like the 30,000 foot view on this. Show me what I'm not seeing. Like, what am I supposed to do next? Because it hit me heavy that like, oh, I knew to leave and I did not really know what to do next.
Yeah.
And I felt like things were going to come together like you do when you're young. Like, oh, it's going to work out.
Of course.
And it's like, that's not what was happening. And I'm like, this is not working out as easily as I thought it would be. And he was, I had been getting certified to be a personal trainer for fun.
Okay.
It was like my hobby
Okay.
while I was doing the other business.
Yeah.
And I just like learning. So typically at any point in time, I'm studying something.
Okay.
I just like learning stuff. And so that was what I was studying at the time. And he was like, go do that.
Wow.
And it was like, he started painting it as like an avenue for ministry, just being one-on-one with people. And I'm like, oh yeah, that could be cool. So I did that for much longer than I expected. And I thought that I would do it like on my own. Like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and be a trainer. And I'm not going to work at a gym. I'm not going to go work for somebody. I'm going to do it myself. And then I ended up working at a gym.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, that's a whole nother
But it's
story.
all those little things, right? Like you said tonight, those little no's along with the yeses, they got you here.
Yeah.
And I just think that's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another big part of the message, and you went here, and I was so happy that you did because it's something that the Lord has been kind of dealing with me on, this idea of suffering, which we don't like to talk about. in America.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
a part of our understanding
Yeah.
of gospel a lot
Yeah.
of times, but remaining faithful in suffering. So, has there been a time in your life where that's become true to you, that you really were suffering, your discomfort and disappointment, all those things, where you had to go, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to be faithful because that's what I know to do?
Yeah, man. I'm like, there's been so many times, so many different seasons. What I've found is that a lot of seasons are a mix of like good things happening and elements of suffering happening along the way.
Wow.
And I think about even when Gabrielle and I first got married, huge blessing, and then she got sick.
Wow.
Like a week into marriage, like in a way that we didn't understand.
Yeah.
We're going to doctors and not really able to diagnose, and that's happening 6 months. Where it's stuff like I'm getting ready to like come to the church to preach, and she's like, I think I need to go to the hospital.
Oh
And it
my
was just like,
gosh.
it was because it was symptoms that were coming on out of nowhere. You would think newlywed, we're out,
Yeah,
hanging
honeymoon
out, all that
phase,
stuff,
yeah.
honeymoon phase. And it was like, there would be days where she's like, I can't even get out of bed.
Oh
And
my
it's like,
gosh.
and you have no idea why.
Right.
So it was just, I think back to that there's been, honestly, several different seasons of even I feel like my first few years, even here on staff, so many cool things were happening. I had just, gone into ministry, was loving it, having fun, just got married, we're having fun, but also going through suffering. And then COVID hits.
Wow. Yeah.
And then it seemed like for me, a ton of stuff just like dried up.
Wow.
Like in the COVID season, it was like so much just seemed to like dry up. And it felt like what once was fertile and working just felt dry and difficult, even financially, where it was like, it felt like stuff was flowing. And then we just went through this season where it was like, it just seems like we can't get a break. My identity got stolen. I remember we were in Arizona with Gabrielle's family over the holidays, and I just get this notification that like somebody's trying to log into my PayPal.
Oh.
And that was the start of a year
Oh my gosh, man.
of incessant identity theft. Like I would be at work getting calls from random banks on different days. SunTrust, are you trying to open an account with us?
Oh my gosh.
Timeshare just got opened in my name.
Oh my gosh.
Another bank account got opened in my name. All kinds of stuff. I go to redeem credit card points. They stole my credit card points.
Oh my
Like it was
gosh.
just like, imagine just time after time after time, all this stuff happening. I'm dealing with banks that I put in an identity theft claim with one bank that I still can't get an account with to this day, because they took my claim and then they changed like ownership, like the whole corporation, and lost all the information. And so I went in to start like a new bank account, and they're like, you owe us $2,000. And I'm like, what? I've never even had an account here.
Yeah.
And even things that, that we can laugh about right now, when you're in real life in real time and you got real stuff happening, you got a family, you're doing ministry, life is presenting challenges, and you try to go do something as simple as open a bank account, and you can't because somebody's been stealing from you. You're not able to do the things that you want to do, and you're just constantly on edge, and it's violating at the same time.
Yeah.
Bro, there's been several things that I would describe as elements of suffering in the midst of even what felt like glorious ministry seasons, where things seem to be working well somewhere, and then my wife's in pain, or our kid is going through something.
What in you, or in the Lord in you, helped you to stay faithful in those seasons? Like, where did you find that gear in your life?
I've learned to trust him through the way that he's shown up in my life. And like there's been the gift of major moments that I can always look back to and be like even me coming on staff here, that season was crazy for me. When I talk about even things being dry, suffering, dude, 3 years, long distance.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
unable to get any realm of stability when I walked away from something stable to follow God.
Yeah.
And now I find my wife, and
Yeah.
now I can't afford a thing. And it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's challenging. It's like, all right, now I'm creeping towards 30 and I don't feel like I have my life together because I'm following what I believe God told me to do. And in the midst of it, it's ugly. But then when he does bring me out of it, it's like so clearly him that how he arranged even me coming here, it's like I just knew it was him. And so when things are going difficult, when things are challenging, I can look back to where I know he moved, and I know, and then I think about the season that it was like before that, and I'm like, this is the pattern. In between, we're gonna go through difficulties and we're gonna go through challenges. I can look at the lives of people in Scripture and see this. I can't think of a Joseph without understanding the how God uses suffering in the life of a person. David, with how God uses suffering in the life of a person. Jesus, John the Baptist, every disciple. It's like this is written all throughout the story. Would I expect to live a life surrendered to him that has any level of significance and it not have some of the key ingredients for that? And the last thing is I see what it develops in me. Going through difficulty has changed my prayer life much more than any blessings have.
That's good.
I became a warrior in prayer when my wife was going through sickness that we could not diagnose. I became a warrior through prayer, through demonic oppression, nightmares, all kinds of stuff that the enemy tries to throw on me, my wife, kids. There's just always stuff happening. And there's a wrestle that takes place. And I've been able to look back and see God's faithfulness throughout it. And I just try to keep holding on. And that's what I view as faithfulness. It's like, I'm still here.
That's good. That's a good word. All right, last question for you. If people would take one thing away from this message tonight, what would it be?
That I think everything that we really need is on the other side of surrender.
Wow.
I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he was telling me, we kind of were on the same track, and all his business stuff worked, and he made millions.
Wow.
And yet his life had a lot of challenges. And he was explaining to me yesterday, like, I've learned, like, the business will work, the money will come. And it wasn't until I surrendered to God that, like, I actually got healed, and I actually got whole, and I actually got free. And nothing worked the way it's supposed to work until I surrendered. And it was just a reminder of how important something like this is, that it's not an optional thing. It's not like, oh, maybe one day I'll surrender to God. Everything that we desire and that we're designed for is on the other side of us surrendering and allowing him to do it.
Wow.
So
good word. Thanks, Pastor. Appreciate you,
man.